So while I've been, down for the count, recovering and trying my best not to re-injure myself, I decided that there were a couple things, really just minor little things that I wanted to address on the gun. And one of the major ones was the actual sight picture that the gun presents from the factory. Now, from the factory, in the back, the notch size is 0.119, realistically 0.120. Maybe the cutter was brand new or something and it was a little undersized, but it's a relatively narrow notch in the back, which I don't mind. On my P09s, I've been running 0.125 rear notches, and it seems to present a good light bar ratio when coupled with a thin front sight. Now, a lot of these Euro spec guns, like the CZs, the GPs, for whatever reason, they have very narrow rear sights, and then they have ridiculously thick front sights. Now, when I say ridiculously thick front sights, I'm talking like 0.125 front sights. Now, when you couple a 0.125 front sight with a 0.120 rear notch, you get a wonky sight picture, at least in my mind. I don't really understand how it works. The science behind it is kind of beyond me. It does still give you a light bar ratio, i.e. because of the distance that the front sight is away from the rear notch, it's not like it looks as though the front sight is larger than the rear notch, i.e. there's no light bar ratio. It still works. I just find, just to dumb it down completely, that the front sight, when it's that thick, covers too much of the target. So, forget the science behind it. Let's just talk strictly about, 25-yard accuracy, an NRA bullseye, or even a USPSA A zone, an IDPA down zero zone, the center portion of the target. It's just simply too big, the front sight. It covers too much of that target for me to really be comfortable with it, and to have the kind of accuracy that I want. Can I achieve accuracy with it? You bet. But at speed, I like to see a little bit more of the target zone versus more of the front sight covering that target zone. It's a better reference for me when I can see more of the target itself. Now, I'm not saying that I'm using any kind of target-based sight picture, or anything like that. I'm definitely on my front sight, but what I am telling you is that when I do put my front sight onto the target, the more that I can see, the more I'm able to get it exactly where I want it, i.e. in the center of the A zone, down zero, or the NRA bullseye, depending upon what kind of shooting I'm doing. So what I ended up doing was I ended up having the front sight sent out to Dawson Precision. Now, Dawson Precision, the reason why I did this is because when I initially put this all together, I ordered a front sight from Dawson based upon some information that I got, in that the front dovetail, how it is actually in the slide, is very similar to a CZ P09, or the 75 or the Shadows. It's actually drilled from front to back instead of side to side like on an M&P or a Glock. Well, not a Glock, because that just has the straight screw through. So on an M&P or a 1911, it's got a regular dovetail that runs, perpendicular to the actual bore. Gotta love Florida. I just had to cut the video because a bug flew down my throat. Obviously, you guys don't want to hear me hacking to death, so I'm just gonna go ahead and cut that out. So, what I was saying was that when I initially, started on this project of trying to revise the sight picture that I have here, I decided that the rear sight was fine. I can deal with a 120 rear notch. If I could have my cake and eat it too, I'd have a gunsmith actually widen this to a 125, but it's really not that huge of a deal, so I'm going to deal with it for now, make life nice and simple. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to change that front sight. Now, the front sight, I did a little bit of research on the internet. I asked a couple of people that I trust, and they told me that the dovetail that's on this particular gun will take a shadow style front sight from, Dawson or CZ Custom. So at any rate, ordered a front sight, was all excited to get it fitted, and not a chance. I would have had to file a significant amount of material from the dovetail base in order to get it to actually fit. And there was far too much hand fitting for me to be comfortable with just simply trying to make it fit by way of brute force. So yeah, I mean, if you follow what I'm saying, I'm just a garage-based gunsmith. I can do some pretty extensive work. I have quite a few machine tools, quite a few hand tools as well. If I wanted to, I could have made that sight fit, but I would have had to remove a lot of material, and it probably would have been a pretty sloppy fit. So I decided that I really didn't want to go that route, simply because it was too far off from the get-go for me to be like, all right, well, if I remove 1,000 from the base of the dovetail, it'll be fine. It was really far off. So I called Dawson, I spoke with them, and they had no idea whether or not something was going to fit, despite having Grand Power K100 sights on their actual website. So what I ended up doing was I ended up just sending them my slide, USPS priority mail. It's $5 to ship it out there. It's really not that big of a deal. They said that they would go ahead and, I guess, lay it on their 3D scanner and get dimensions for the actual dovetail itself. And if they had anything in their inventory that would fit, they'd go ahead and put it on in. Now, when I spoke with them, I specified that the gun was currently zeroed, i.e., the rear sight is where I want it to be, in accordance with the front sight. Now, that was on the gun. Now, when I shoot at 25 yards, I like to essentially dot the I, meaning that at 25 yards, if I'm going to put my front sight in the center of a down zero circle, just for argument's sake, on an IDPA target, I want the bullet to essentially impact right at the very tip of the blade. So it's a lowercase I. Just picture that in your head. And that's where I like my sight picture to be, and my point of impact to be as well. So they said, no problem, Ian, we'll go ahead and fit something in accordance with how you currently have the gun zeroed. So I sent it out. They went ahead and installed the front sight. It did take 4 weeks. It took a month for them to do it, but I was laid up anyway, so no big deal. They sent it back. What they ended up doing was they fitted a sight. This is a 0.1 thickness front sight, so I now have a really good light bar ratio in the rear. I have a front sight thickness that I'm used to, and I can't wait to shoot this thing. So hopefully it'll zero out as it was prior to me sending it off, but you never know. So I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that it returns, or I should say, it returns the results that I originally had. But only shooting it will actually tell me that. So I've got to get out there once my hands heal up and actually do that. So that's a little quick update that I wanted to give for you guys. If you do want a different front sight on your Grand Power, you can definitely accomplish that. What I will say is that they charged, I believe, $40 for the sight. Shipping out there was $5. Shipping back was $7. And I believe, if I recall correctly, they charged me either 10 or 15 for the quote-unquote custom sight install. So it's not cheap to get a new front sight on your gun. But realistically, for a competition gun, front sights, unless you have some sort of wonky holster, front sights will last forever. So it's a minimal investment for something that should basically last the life of the gun, unless you're unlucky and you ding the front sight, which can happen. So in a nutshell, I think this was worth it. Only time will tell. Obviously, if the front sight rattles itself out or doesn't fit, or I shoot it twice and the crosspin breaks and then the front sight comes out, I'm going to be pretty upset because I paid a decent amount of money for something that I would hope would have been installed properly, and it looks like it was. There is still a crosspin in there, but only time will tell. And as I get back and shooting, I'll update you guys and let you know what's up. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you see, do me a favor, please subscribe and like the video. It goes a long way towards letting me know what you want to see from me. I get a lot of requests for the different guns that I've shown over the years. I really only stick to one gun when I'm really into it, i.e. right now I'm shooting this Excal, not shooting the P09. If you guys want to see something on the P09s, by all means let me know. I'm happy to kind of jump around and switch around and go from there. Alright guys, again, thanks for watching.